Hi, Professor Hoffman here with the review of the syllabus. It won't be as quick as I probably would have hoped, but we'll go ahead and look through it and kind of see things. So this obviously is BIOSC 140, just human physiology. Again, I am Professor James Hoffman. My email is jhoffman@dvc.edu. Note for my email, go ahead and highlight it here. 2 F's, 2 N's. There used to be a while ago Juliet Hoffman with 1 N. I think she still has an email. So if you send email to only 1 N, she will get it, as we have like 10 gigabytes of email space, but she'll never return it because she doesn't work at DVC anymore. So I always tell students, think about the double, which is the famous hamburger, right, at In-N-Out, which is right down the street from campus, right? Double, 2 F's, 2 N's when you send an email. Course description you can read, right? It's physiology, looking at the regulatory mechanisms in the human body. This semester, which is spring 2021, our course will be 100% asynchronous and online. That means there are no campus meetings. There are no requirements to be regularly available at a specific time. Content will be posted on Canvas, and students must meet regular deadlines for assignments, assessments, but you can access the course at any time and work at your own convenience. We will have some assessments that are particularly assigned on one day, and those will be Wednesdays. So I call them Big Wednesdays. After that, was a movie in 1978 by the same name. You can see the course calendar. We'll take a look at it towards the end of this video, but plan accordingly. So your big days in the course this semester are Wednesdays. We have 4 lecture exams, 4 laboratory exams, a lecture comprehensive final, a lab report due, and a physiology paper and a physiology video presentation due. And those will be all on different Wednesdays. So I believe you got like a dozen Wednesdays spoken for the entire semester. You also have some, we call them checkups, little online quizzes to keep you engaged with the material that will be posted and available throughout the week. And you'll probably have one starting the second week every week through the entire semester. I believe there's 13 of those. There's some other things as well we'll kind of look at as we go through. A couple other things important about the class: prerequisites. This course has prerequisites. They cannot be taken concurrently, as studies have shown that people who have these prerequisites when they enter a physiology course perform better. So you're much more likely to be successful with these. So you need BIOSC 139, which is the anatomy class, or 120 at DVC, which is a combined anatomy and physiology. You also need, some sort of CAM 107, which is what many of the nursing students are taking now, or 108 or 109 or 120, or 1 year of high school chemistry could also apply. The key to those is they have to be on record in admissions so that they can approve that prerequisite and make sure you can enroll in the course. If somehow you snuck by, I've had probably in the 20-something years I've been teaching at DVC, probably about a half dozen students that have been removed in the middle of the semester because they do these prerequisite checks. They were able to gain entry into the course, and then about 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks into the semester, they just get a letter saying, hey, you've been retroactively dropped from the course because you don't have the proper prerequisites. So make sure you have those on record for that. You have required textbooks. We'll wait and come up with those when we get to that part of the syllabus, so we'll wait on those. I have office hours. I sort of color-coded them a little bit for you. My office hours are by email. those are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 a.m. And usually, I should be sitting on the email, and probably pop it back pretty quick. So those are the green. And then the purple are our Zoom office hours, which I'll have on 9 to 10 on Monday. And then since a lot of our big assessments and assignments are due on Wednesday, I figured Tuesday evening would be a good time to have office hours, so students who have last minute questions and things could answer them. To be honest, though, I'm really good generally about replying to email, and while the official course policy is I'll reply within 24 hours, usually on a weekday, and on a weekend I'll reply before Monday, the following Monday. But generally speaking, you often get it popped back pretty quick. So those, and feel free to email me at any time. You don't have to wait until those times. And for many of you, you may not even be up because you're up late studying, and so that's fine. If you email me at noon, I'm not going to wait. If I see it, I'll probably reply to it as soon as I see it. So those are my office hours. Obviously, since we're not on campus, I don't have any office hours, in person. And then you can always email me if you want to have a Zoom meeting or something. That's pretty easy to pop on Zoom and do that as well. Grading. There is a video that goes through the grading procedures for the lab. When I mean for the lab, it's the video in lab. It's lab 1, but it actually goes through the grading for all the course, not just the lab section itself. Basically, here are quick breakdown of the assignments. You have 800 points total in the course. Lecture exams are worth 100 points each. There's 4 of them, so there's 400 points. That is broken down into each section. We have a final exam. The final exam is worth 100 points. That's given on the last Wednesday of class, so in the middle of May this semester. You have 4 laboratory quizzes. Those are 25 points each. You have what I call checkups. Checkups are little homework assignments or quizzes that, again, try to engage you and help test you on the materials we move along. Those will typically be somewhere from 12 to 30 questions and will be on specific topics that you'll know in advance. And basically, it's the stuff that you should be finishing that week in class to keep up with your studying. And there'll be more than 75 points on that. For the checkups, I think we'll have 269 points total this semester. I've gauged, which means that those are going to be relativized back to 75 points. And there's a handout. You can find it on Canvas. That's a great worksheet that'll show you the scale. But basically, it's take your percentage, whatever you did on the checkup assignments and quizzes, and that's what percentage of 75 you get. It's not a bad way to think about it. We also have what are called JALR assignments. Some people call them JARLs, which really doesn't make any sense when you think about it, but those letters stand for Journal, Article, Laboratory, Report. It's a series of 5 assignments. They're due really early in the semester. The first 2 are due the 3rd of February, and the next 3 are due the 10th of February, I guess it would be. And what they're going to do is they're going to help you write your lab report. So they're going to talk about different aspects of it and kind of look at how to think about, scientific writing and, some stuff about figures and tables and how to present those and some other information as well. So those are 5 points each, 25 points. Then you'll have a competitively graded laboratory report. That's worth 50 points. And then you also have a Physiology Project. That's due in middle of April. The first week will be a paper, 6 to 12 pages on any topic in physiology that you want. I think I went with 6 to 12 this time. And then that's worth 25 points. And then you'll make a video on your paper that you wrote. and that will be 25 points as well. The video has to be 5 minutes in length. Give you a little bit of leeway with time, but not much, and you'll be downgraded if it's not the exact time requirement that I've asked for. Part of the assignments and reports and projects is following directions, and if you follow directions, you probably have a good step towards that. Assignment of letter grades. Letter grades will be assigned solely on a percentage basis. DVC does not use a plus-minus grading system if you're new to the college, so the only letter grades I can give is A, B, C, D, F. By state law, if you are enrolled in the class after the drop deadline, which I think is in, like, I don't know, I'm guessing April 17th, 23rd, somewhere in that neighborhood, so the middle, late April, then by state law, I have to give you a letter grade in the course. So if you want to get an A, you need 720 points minimum, right? That's an A, and that's 90% or above. There's sometimes a little leeway with those numbers, and I'll look at where the class falls. You know, but if you just want to make sure you get an A, just get 720 points at least, and you'll be fine. For the lecture exams will emphasize the lecture material, but you're responsible for the material covered in the notes, even if it's not discussed in class. Yeah, you should use your textbook, which we'll talk about again in a little while, for reference material, and then use the PowerPoint slides that we go over, and then the lectures that are posted on YouTube. For the lectures, you should, just like you should do in a regular classroom, sit down, take notes as you go through the lecture. One of the nice things about the YouTube lectures, you can speed them up, slow them down, stop, go backwards. In a live class, that's much more difficult. And so you're going to spend, you know, a significant amount of time watching lectures online that are designed to help you understand the material. I do post the notes that I use during lecture, and there's more in my head that's on the notes, so that's why it's important for you to listen. And then you're going to be asked to apply them. So to apply that information and integrate it. And one of the big things we're going to kind of work on for each exam is that integration and application of the information. So there's usually a couple questions on your lecture exams that will have some of that on it. So the format for the exams, all right, so you can see it right here, format, will consist of multiple choice. I haven't really done matching, and I probably won't. I suspect that there'll be 50 questions on an exam, and I'll make them 1.5 points apiece, which means the multiple choice point would be portion would be 75 points, 50 questions, probably give about an hour to do it. And then there'll also be a essay written question set, usually 4 or 5-ish, and that'll be worth the remaining 25. For those, you're going to have to handwrite the answers out, and then scan it, convert it to a PDF, and submit it. And so that's kind of the way it's going to work. It's a little different than what sometimes other students have done in the past in other classes, because what I have done is, instead of using the exam function on Canvas, I'm using the exam function to deliver the questions, and then the assignment function for you to submit them. So it actually works a lot better in the long run. And the assignment portion of Canvas does things that the exam portion doesn't, and that allows me to time your exams, and I know exactly when you finish them, and then I give you 10 minutes to scan, convert, and upload that in what I'm just going to call the submission portal or submission link. And so those should be easy to find, but that's going to be what we're going to do for the written portion. So the reason why I want you to handwrite everything, literally physically handwrite stuff, is to make sure that you're not just copying and pasting from other sources, things like that. Because again, all the exams are online. The content and scope. The lecture exams are going to emphasize the lecture material. I spend time talking about those in the video. We have it in our notes. We have it in our slides. We have it in our textbook. Obviously, those are the things I'm going to try to ask about. To be honest, it's my intention to cover everything in the materials. But really, I think your class notes, the notes you take during the lecture portion that are posted on Canvas through YouTube, that's the real crux of where the material should come from in terms of that. So it's going to require you to synthesize and apply concepts to new scenarios. We're not going to just rotely memorize things. To be honest, I used to teach anatomy. I haven't done for a number of years, and I was a student too. And, obviously I've taken, plenty of anatomy and physiology courses in my lifetime. You can do really well in anatomy by just memorizing things. You cannot typically do that in physiology because you need to apply that material. And so the functional information that we have is essential in terms of physiology. So just, understand that. And some people, are really good at one, and some people are really good at the other. So that's the content and scope. Administration. All exams will be administered through Canvas. They have to be taken on the scheduled date. It's typically scheduled on Wednesdays. I should take typically out because they are scheduled on Wednesdays. And because we're an asynchronous course, they're going to be available from 9 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Okay? And so you're going to have to take both sections of the exam and submit them before 11:59 p.m. on that Wednesday. And so, they have to be completed in a single sitting, each portion, right? So once you start the exam, there's a timer, right? And once you hit start, the timer goes, and irrespective of what you do, you have to complete it. If it's a multiple choice one, once it expires, it automatically submits your exam. And if for the other one, when you open it, the timer starts, and when it finishes, I give you 10 minutes, what I call technical time, to, again, scan your handwritten thing. And what most of you are probably going to do is you're going to, and I've got some information on Canvas on how to do this, and most of you probably already know how to do it anyway, is you take a picture with your phone or tablet, or use a scanner, right? And then if you just take your phone or tablet, you can put on a number of different programs. I like the Adobe one. I also have a couple other, scan to PDF things that work. So you just basically take a picture of it. I use my iPad. With my iPad, you can use your phone, and then the program automatically converts it to PDF. Some of those programs, like Adobe Scan, then you can directly upload into the assignment portal on Canvas. So that's kind of a nice little thing that it works. And you can't do it for whatever reason on the exam function, but you can do it on the assignment function. So that's why I have you turn them in the way you did. And a number of students last semester really thought that helped them and made it a little less stressful in that 10-minute turnaround time from finishing and getting it submitted. So the resources you can use on an exam, which is an important question, is I expect you to understand the material as well in the online course as you do in a face-to-face class. And so part of the reason why we're going to test the way we do is to help with the fairness of the exam and try to keep the exam security as well as we can. So what you can use on the exam are your own calculator, right? You can use course materials, which are basically the notes that you've taken and the materials posted on Canvas, okay? But you cannot use other people, so you can't use classmates or, if your roommate or mom or whoever, dad, happens to be a nurse and understands this or whatever, you can't ask them. And no outside material, so you can't use Google, the internet, or things like that. I will give you a limited amount of time on the exam. It goes pretty quick. And we practice that on those checkup exams when we have the ones we have once a week. Because you wouldn't be able to look up that information in class. So my suggestion is to do it the best you can, and if you got time at the end, then mark the questions you want to go back and look at. All right. Makeup exams are generally not given except under extraordinary circumstances. In addition, there's a comprehensive final exam that will probably be very similar in format to what the lectures exams were. Again, that's on Wednesday, May 19th. Just like the other exams, you start at 9, you have to finish by 11:59 p.m. The lab quizzes are similar. We have a couple lab materials that we'll talk about. The Fox Laboratory Manual, and we'll kind of look at the laboratory supplement. And then you're responsible for the material covered in the videos, the PowerPoint slides, the laboratory notes, and those two sources I just mentioned. Again, like lecture, your class notes should be the main study guide that you use. The format, the lab quizzes, I kind of go back and forth in terms of how I do things. So there'll always be a multiple choice section. Sometimes I have, because only with 25 points, I have half of it multiple choice and the other half, or roughly 12 and 13 points, or 13 and 12 written. And I had a couple that were 15 and 10, and I had one that was 25 multiple choice and 0. So it's going to be all over the place, but typically at least half the question is going to be multiple choice, and there may be a written component as well, and that will be 25 points. Again, you would do it similarly as you would in terms of the lecture exam, and we'll always have the lab quizzes first. So when we look at a section, we'll have section 1 for lecture, and we'll have section 1 for lab. And so when we look at the exam or lab quiz for section 1, that will always be a week before the lecture exam for section 1. And again, the reason why is you're not studying the same material. Yeah, you know what, we're going to talk about homeostasis, or we'll talk about the cardiovascular system and look at it in lab, but we're not really studying the same thing. So really, I think it makes sense to take them on opposite days. And since we're always going to do our major assessments and assignments on Wednesdays, the lab quiz will come first. And then the next Wednesday, the following Wednesday, will be the lecture exam. Again, not as applied as the lecture exam will be in terms of some of the questions, but you just can't rotely memorize things. It's a good start, but you'll have to be able to apply it and analyze it. We'll do some calculations, especially in lab. And so, I know this word's scary to many people, but we're going to have to know some math. Okay. Again, all exams will be on Canvas on Wednesday, available at 9 a.m., ends at 11:59 p.m. And, if you've got 2 sections, you got to take them both and finish them that day. Same rules in terms of the exam. Calculators and your course materials can be used, but other persons and outside materials cannot for that. And again, makeups aren't given unless there's extraordinary circumstances. I mentioned the checkups a little bit before. Those tend to be homework and short Canvas quizzes. On the very first day of class, we have an orientation quiz that goes into the checkup. We have a take-home quiz that goes into checkup points. And then we have, I think, like I said, 13 checkups we'll have every week that will be due, that will be on the material for that week that you should be mastering, learning, studying. So help keep you on task. To be honest, the checkup quizzes don't help a whole lot because many students do really well on them. Occasionally they hurt students because students forget to do them. And if you don't do them, then you will end up suffering the consequences. A couple years ago, I had a student that just never bothered to do these. And that's just the one that we're in a face-to-face classroom. And I just don't think he went on Canvas as much as he needed to. And I think he got literally 15 out of 75 points on that. And he ended up getting an A on every exam, and an A on every lab quiz. But ended up getting a B in the class because he lost almost a whole letter grade. He lost 60 out of 75 points on just not doing the checkups. And I know if he would have just logged in and just done them right out of his head, just quickly answer the questions, he probably would have gotten enough points to get an A. So, don't forget to do them. And like I said, I think there's 269 checkup points this semester, and the grade scale is published there. I mentioned the Physiology Project. Again, you get to pick what it is, any aspect in human physiology. I expect it in-depth or covered. Sometimes it depends on the topic. You may want to do something very broad, so in that limited amount of time it would be much shallower, or you want to do something very specific. You get to choose, as long as it's related to physiology. And we'll talk about this more, and more information on it, obviously, on Canvas. But you have the ability in this project to do whatever you want. And, people do careers, people do diseases, people do exercise and nutrition and athletic stuff, and, all sorts of things. And so I have two criteria that you should probably, try to maintain, hit for this project. It should be either A, interesting for you, and or B, easy for you. Okay. So we're talking about a 6 to 12 page paper, and then we'll have a 5 to 6 minute presentation video on your paper. So that's how you write the paper first, then from the paper make a little video, and it has to be between 5 and 6 minutes running time. As I said before, it has to be no less than exactly 5 minutes and no more than exactly 6 minutes. Otherwise, you'll lose points. And each part is worth 25 points. Again, I mentioned the JALR stuff. There are 5 assignments that are due fairly quickly that will help prepare you for writing the lab report. The lab report is worth 50 points. For the written assignments, we're going to use Turnitin. This is called, it's an originality checker, and the idea is you turn it in, and the service looks at your paper, compares it against literature, previously written papers, and all sorts of stuff, and then gives you an originality score. If that score is greater than 30%, then you're going to have to rewrite it because you have too much. It's too similar to other reports and has some elements of plagiarism. Most students didn't have an issue with this last semester, so not too difficult. But you need to finish that a little ahead of time so that you can check it and make sure that it's kind of where you want it in terms of that. So the magic number to be under is 30%. I'll explain the whole system for late assignments and stuff. Late assignments, I don't want them. And, I'll say this a couple times, and I think it's important, so you might as well hear it now. When you get up every morning, okay, every morning you get up in this class until May 19th, which is our final. So after that, you don't have to worry about me anymore. The first thing you should think of every day is say, how can I make James's life easier? Okay. And, students always laugh when I say that, but in all seriousness, it makes sense, because if you're doing the things that makes my life easy, you're doing the things that you need to do to be successful in the class. Okay. To be honest, you don't want to do this. But the easiest papers to grade are the ones that don't exist, right? But even then, they're hard because now I have to worry about it and think, okay, why didn't you do it? And then I have to track you down and everything else. So that's not too; those aren't too difficult. But by far the other easiest papers to grade are the ones that are perfect, right? So if you're making my life easy, turning things in on time, and showing up for office hours, and asking questions, and submitting things, and making it quality work, then you're making my life a lot easier. And if you're doing that, you're going to be more successful in this course. So we're going to look at a calendar of due dates at the very end of this. And I've divided the dates in class to a due date. That's when you should have it done. And if you're trying to stay up with the course calendar, and if you're kind of eyeing towards, a normal course in the semester that was a face-to-face that met, 2 or 4 days a week for lecture and lab, then that one's the due date is. In most assignments, I give you an extra couple days to say, okay, I know that maybe you're not going to finish it on that Wednesday or Thursday, and so I'll give you some extra time, all right? And so that's the penalty date. So up through that time, you can turn it in through the penalty date without any penalty at all. But once you reach the penalty date, right, the next day starts the deduction, right? Actually, the next second once you reach your penalty date, as you'll see in a second. And then you have an expiration date. So that penalty date sometimes is 2 days, and sometimes 3, and sometimes 5 days after. And then the expiration date is sometimes after that as well. Once we reach the expiration date, you can no longer turn that in for credit. And the penalty date, which, again, after that we start to accrue penalties, is 0.5% of your total score per hour late. That's a 12% deduction. Okay, so Canvas does it automatically, right? It timestamps everything. So when you turn something in, I know when it came in, and literally Canvas takes the points right off. So try not to be late, and again, make my life easier. Don't be late for that. If you have any score corrections that you don't understand why you got, or you think there's some problem with your grading, I give you 5 days within posting of the grades to bring any discrepancies. Otherwise, we're going to assume that grade is what it is and it fits. Under no circumstances I'm going to give individual extra credit. We might have an extra credit assignment or opportunity later, especially at the very end of the semester. But generally speaking, don't expect extra credit, especially individually. You are stuck with the total amount of points you earn in the course. One of the important aspects of the course is that you demonstrate that you're staying actively engaged in the course. So we require active participation. It's essential for you to be successful in the course. And, if there's some reason you can't be active for a week, you should let me know. And again, there's a couple weeks where, you can just turn something in, or, one of the nice things about an online course, where it's got, some problems, and, I don't think it's the best way to teach physiology. But given the circumstances in the world right now, it's probably the only way we can teach physiology. The nice thing about the course is you can do these things whenever you want, right? Literally, as an example, I'm recording this video and it is 2:09 a.m. All right. And that's when my house is the quietest, right? So, when I'm taking courses right now too for other things. And usually I do a lot of my work late at night because that's when my house is the least hectic and I can think and things like that. So that's a great thing about being able to be in an online course, especially one that's asynchronous like ours, but it also has some downsides, right? And so, try to stay up with things, and, participation is essential in terms of your success in this class. If you have an excuse, let me know. And, an illness documented by a doctor's note, religious holidays, but, those aren't going to go for a whole week. right? College-sponsored events, which are happening at very few right now because of the pandemic, or death in the family, um, are all good examples of things why you might have inactivity. So let me know. We'll figure it out, but you need to stay actively engaged. Once you actually withdraw from the course, right? Sorry, once you actually decide if you're not going to take the course anymore, you have to actively withdraw. If you don't stay engaged, I can withdraw you. That is my discretion, but I probably won't. And if I don't withdraw you and you quit coming and doing the work, then you're going to probably get an F. And that's just something you don't want. So if you get enrolled in the class, make sure you physically drop it before the drop deadline, so that that doesn't happen. Some class policies that I think are important to mention. We'll work together to build an inclusive and supportive community in the class. I'll do my part to make sure that the class is respectful and safe, friendly, interactive, and I hope interesting and a little bit of fun. It's hard to get it too fun because we don't have that type of interaction like we do in a classroom. But I think we can still do some things that make it kind of neat. Science, when they look at how people learn, have shown conclusively that people learn better in an environment with these characteristics. So let's try to do that and support everybody that we can. A couple other things: make sure that you understand that every student in the classroom, regardless of personal history or identity categories, is a member of this group, right? And everybody should be treated equally, right? Your experiences are important, and you should or could share them if they become relevant to the class, right? But no student in this class is ever believed to speak for all members of their group. And we're all in a whole bunch of different groups, right? In this classroom, you have the right to your own identity, right? You have the right to be called whatever name you wish. You have the right to be referred to whatever pronouns you wish, and adjust those things at any given point. When we do Zoom sessions, you can turn your camera on, you can keep it off, you can change the name, you can ask questions, you can turn on with your full name on the Zoom, right? You can turn on your camera and ask a question, or you can turn your camera off, hide your name, or put some nickname or initials or whatever, and then type a question in chat, or you could actually personally send me the chat without anybody else seeing, if that's what you wanted to do. So you have the ability, to do that. We're not having necessarily those types of interactions. Because we don't have the requirement of a synchronous class, we can do that fairly easily. If any of the aspects of the course, the instruction, the subject matter, the class environment, anything results in a barrier to your inclusion or learning in this course, contact me, let me know, and we'll figure it out. Disruptive behavior, just don't be disruptive, and there's not much else to say. Course communication. I'm going to post frequent announcements. As a matter of fact, if you go to the Canvas page, there are probably a dozen announcements already. You should look at them and read them. They're important. Okay. I will send emails out, things like that, and I'll try to keep you informed as much as possible, but it is still your responsibility to stay up with things. Okay. So, but look at the announcements and you can see how they're going to be there. Again, because there's really only two ways to contact me now. Email. You can use your email, you can use your Insight, you can use your DVC, you can use Canvas, the inbox, throughout the semester, but I actually prefer your personal email to communicate with me. And there's a bunch of little quirks in Canvas, and I'm sure most of you probably have it forwarded to your regular email. But if you send me an email asking, say, hey James, do you have this form? Do you have this handout? I can't find it. and I want to send it back to you, I can't hit reply and send it back an attachment. And that becomes a little bit of an issue sometimes. And I know that some of you want to keep your personal email and your school email separately, right? And don't want to combine it. And so I have no problem with that if you want to use the ones that are designated. But I prefer you using your normal email. Try to have the email appropriate content, okay? You know, quick questions, things like that help. Sometimes it gets difficult to answer, but since we don't see each other face to face, that's sometimes the only way to go. Emails, you should work on your professional tone, right? You know, try to contain all the elements of professional communication. Most of you are taking this class to move on to professional careers, so it's probably not a bad way to start practicing. And again, the response time I mentioned, you know, you'll get it within 24 hours, Monday through Thursday, and then message over the weekend will be replied to by the following Monday. But in reality, I don't think they've ever had more than, you know, during the day, an hour or two, and overnight maybe. You know, if you email me at 4 a.m., I'm probably not up, but I'll get it back to you pretty quick. I mentioned most of the Zoom policy as well. We have optional Zoom meetings and office hours, right? They're open to everyone in any 140 section I teach. The easiest way to access Zoom is down here, right? There's just this link. There's also a link on the home page. And so think about that. I don't have it password protected right now. If I have to, then I'll have to change the links, but the password will automatically be built into it. I haven't had any issues with it though, so it seems easier just to keep the same one. Again, you can change your name or mute your microphone, hide your video, ask questions in chat, send private chat. All fine in terms of whatever you want to do. Also remember good Zoom etiquette. Mute your microphone when not asking questions so it limits the extraneous noise. And then, you know, if you need to schedule a Zoom meeting with me privately, we can do that as well. All right, so in terms of course materials, you know, one of the things, I know college is expensive, and I know most of us don't have a whole lot of money. I have a son who graduated from UC Santa Barbara a while ago, and I know that was expensive, and you know, so I have attempted to make this class as inexpensive as possible. So in order to kind of do that, here are our required materials. Our reference textbook for both lecture and laboratory reference is the OpenStax Anatomy and Physiology book. If you want a PDF version, it's free. Okay, I have it on Canvas. You can download it. You can just literally Google OpenStax Anatomy Physiology. It'll take you to the website. You can download the PDF version for free. If you want a Kindle version, you can go to Amazon and download that for free. If you want a print copy, right? Soft cover, I think, is like $40 or $42 from Amazon, and a hardcover is like $50 or $51. So, you know, if you want to get the traditional, hey, book, right, they have to charge for the materials, but it's still pretty cheap. The last textbook I used was $250. So use whatever version is best for you. We also have 2 laboratory textbooks that are required. You must have them. Okay. These 2 laboratory textbooks you need for lab, but we're not going to turn any work from them in. Right? So the idea is that you're a professional. You're going to do your work. You're going to prepare for the exam. And by doing your work that you're supposed to, that you'll be better prepared for the exam. So the first one we call the supplement. The supplement is officially known as the Physiology Laboratory Supplement. I recently revised it. I have compiled the information, put it together. I have decided I am not going to charge for it. If you get a hard copy from the bookstore, they have to again charge for materials and printing cost, labor cost, about $25. It's like 180 pages. Because I own it and I can do whatever I want with it, right? Because I made it. I also provide a free PDF copy on the Canvas website, so you can download the 180 pages from Canvas as well. So whatever way you want, again, you'll have a PDF version and a hard copy version. So far, your first two books, if you use them as PDFs, are $0. Okay. For the third one, we call it the Lab Manual, or FOX. It's actually officially called the Human Physiology Lab BIOSC 140L DVC Biology book. Okay. Which is crazy because there's not even a class that's called 140L. And what it is they put my name on it. It's not me. I didn't do anything except order it. This lab book, it originally came in a spiral-bound book. It was a 2-color book, and basically some of the stuff was in green or purple ink, which didn't make any sense to me, or pink sometimes. And so there was really no reason to have that. And we didn't use every chapter within the book. And so, I told the textbook publisher, I said, your book's too expensive. It was like $250 for something that's a throwaway. And I said, so we're not going to use your book anymore. And the guy said, well, why don't we do this? And so they decided they're just going to use regular paper, which is actually better than the glossy paper they use in the original book, and just copy the labs that I want and then make it cheaper. So I didn't look this semester. Last semester was $93. And so it's a custom version of this FOX edition. Part of the problem is, which really isn't a problem, is they have not updated that book for a number of years now. But to be honest, I started teaching from that book when it was on the, 4th edition, and it has changed very little since the 4th edition anyway. So it doesn't change much. They're classic physiology experiments. So the custom version at the DVC bookstore, even though it seems like it's expensive, $93, right, is much cheaper than spending a couple $100 on the book if you were buying it from Amazon or the textbook manufacturer. So, get the bookstore one, and that's probably a better way to go. No, because this is actually from a textbook publisher that we can't have PDF versions. That being said, I know that it's difficult to get your books the first week or two. So I have illegally made copies of the first couple labs we need from it, and I've posted them on Canvas. But after the first 2 weeks, you're going to have it, and you're going to need it for class. And you're not going to be successful in lab unless you have that book, or actually both of them, to be honest. A couple other things really quick. Because we rely so much on the computer for online education, you really should have a computer. I know many of you use tablets or your phone or other devices to access the course, but the course is much better accessed through normal means, all right? Meaning a computer, laptop, or desktop. So you should think about setting up the DVC email forwarding from Insight. You should do that from Canvas as well. For Canvas, submitting assignments I mentioned, Adobe Scan, ScanBot, Microsoft Lens are all apps that you can use to photograph your work and then convert it to PDF and submit. I'll ask you to participate in some online discussions throughout the semester, and then obviously taking online assessments. You'll use the computer to view online lectures and videos. Again, whatever works for you. That doesn't have to be your computer. It could be your phone or tablet or whatever. You could do that on your TV, YouTube app, if you've got, Roku or something. You're going to have to view course materials, which are going to be Words, PowerPoints, or PDF formatted things. You're going to have to use a word processor. Word probably works the best. As a note, as a DVC student, you have free access to Microsoft via Insight, and you can download Microsoft Office for free. You can do it, I think, through your email. I also think on Canvas there is a link for Microsoft as well that you can find. But there are certainly ways to get that. And if you don't have access to Microsoft, as long as you have a DVC email address, I understand that'll be active. You may need a microphone. You still need a microphone when you make your video for this course. And obviously, you're going to want to have Zoom. You're going to have access to high-speed internet, okay? And again, a computer works best. We decided not to use the BioPack software this semester just because so many students had trouble with it when I did a trial run. It requires a lot of memory on computers. I just don't know if students all have adequate computer setups to be able to do that for the entire class. The other technical requirement that should be here that I did not put on, and this is really important, the best web browser to use for Canvas is Google Chrome. And I know some people hate Chrome, some people love Chrome, and people like to use, their own thing. The problem is that Canvas is checked through Google Chrome. And there are especially problems with images for those of you that use any iOS or Mac device, especially, but you also occasionally see it with other web browsers as well. And so, use the Chrome web browser. Last semester, I gave a quiz that had some images on it, and a number of students, and the Mac students, because they weren't using Chrome, they're using Safari, couldn't see. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. I don't understand why some could and some can't. And I have an iPad, and when I check it on the iPad, it looks fine, but some students can't read it. It's probably your privacy settings or the version of QuickTime you have is probably determines that. But they couldn't see the figure, right? They couldn't see the image. And so if the question says, hey, look at the image and tell me this, and you can't see the image, obviously it's harder to answer that question. So use Chrome all the time with Canvas. I know that it limits your freedom, but make sure you have Chrome to do that. There's a lot of guides for Canvas if you want to look at that and how to do stuff. Most of you probably have been on Canvas now for at least a semester fairly extensively, and you're getting used to it. From that, I'm not going to read all this, but support services are available. We'll have a tutoring lab that will be online for the course. Hopefully we have some BIOSC 140 tutors available. Also, we have access to NetTutor. I don't know if we do this semester. We did previous semesters, so and that you can access on Canvas as well. If you're in the DSS program, right, and you have accommodations, and working with a counselor already, let me know as soon as possible and then remind me so that I can work out those things. Talked a little bit about academic integrity. Again, it's really simple. Don't cheat. And this will go through a number of different things that deal with cheating and academic dishonesty. So you should read this, but don't cheat. My expectations, I have high expectations of you. Most of you want to go on to professional careers, and I not only have high expectations, but I have high expectations that you can meet those high expectations. I have, generally speaking, most students can meet those expectations. Sometimes I hear that the class is too hard, and learning is a violent event, really. And most students struggle with this new complex material, and then all of a sudden, boom, it clicks, and they understand stuff. And you'll see that a lot in this class. I set high standards because they're college level standards, and that's what you need to move on to the next level. That's what you need to be able to go in and start to hone your professional skills and development when you move on to another program. So, the whole idea of getting college education is to learn and understand new ideas and concepts and then be able to apply them. Okay, so I set a high level of learning in my class, and I think that you'll leave being more knowledgeable. Time commitment. If you've been taking online courses, you probably understand that it's a lot of time. And, just to kind of look at it from a different standpoint, if we were able to meet on campus and had a face-to-face class, we would be in class 9 hours a week, right? 6 hours of lab, 3 hours of lecture for 16 weeks, which is 162 hours. You'd also be studying a significant amount of time outside of class. And so you should figure somewhere in this class about 15 to 25 hours of work a week, looking at material, taking notes, taking assessments, doing assignments, and things like that. And I kind of, break it down on how to budget, 5 hours watching videos and taking notes like a typical lecture. There are some for lab, which are usually shorter, and some for lecture. All right, every lecture we have a video for it, almost, except for 2, which I purposely don't have videos for. You probably want to spend a couple hours a week doing lab assignments. You want to do a couple hours a week looking at various homeworks or taking online quizzes, and then kind of have this 5 hours a week of non-mandated study time, either to catch up on things or to, obviously the week you're turning your lab report, you're going to spend more time writing the lab report than you would any other week, and just, kind of do that. So, you're not going to spend 25 hours every week. Some weeks might be longer depending on how you study and how much time you have, and other weeks might be a lot shorter. So, budget that time. And actually, studies have shown that scheduling study time works the best. Here's some advice. Take responsibility for your own education. It's a demanding course, and again, I have high expectations, and you should have high expectations for yourself. So at this point in your academic career, you need to recognize and accept your own responsibility for education. Grades are earned, right? And you will get out, hopefully, what you put into the course, okay? Challenge yourself, but don't get discouraged, right? Learn things a new way. Try to figure out if something's not working, what's not working, and then try to change it. There will be challenges, and don't get discouraged. Ask for help, not just me, but, make some contacts in class, and, having, people you can rely on, text or phone, or, send an email to, or whatever, right? Chat with, and, talk about, things in class and work it out. Be willing to make mistakes, and, when you see your errors, right, think of them as opportunities so that fix them and don't have them again. Learn how you learn. Everybody learns a little bit differently, and you have your own learning style. And some strategies that work for someone else may not work for you, right? So just, figure out what you're successful, and then be on top of that and trying to enhance that. Study to learn, not to memorize, okay? Learn the basic concepts, and then learn how to apply those concepts to new situations. I will give you, in every lecture exam, new situations that you haven't thought about probably at all, that says, okay, here's what's going on, right? What can you do to tell me about this? So, you can read all that advice and everything, and that'll help. One of the keys to any course, and especially an online course, is manage your time well, okay? Schedule your studying time. Schedule if you're an exerciser, your exercise time. Schedule sleep. Schedule work, right? And just, leave some free time for other things, but schedule stuff. Quality is important, not quantity, right? You're going to be assessed on the quality of your work, right? You might put in 100 hours a week, but if your work doesn't reflect that, then you may not get an A. Hopefully, if you put in that much time, you would. But, make sure that you're putting in quality work. Be a professional. Most of you, as I said before, probably all of you, to be honest, are trying to move on to some sort of further education, whether it's graduate school or nursing school or physical therapy school, occupational therapy school, radiology, sonography, ultrasound, whatever it is, dentistry, other medical fields, graduate school, kinesiology, right? All of those things, right? As you move on through your professional career, you're going to have to start acting more professional. And so that kind of list, again, I'm not going to read it all through. You can read for that. Disclaimer, and I have a couple disclaimers, right? I've tried to make this as accurate as possible, but things sometimes change, right? Obviously, a little less than a year ago when I'm talking about this, right? When we first went into the pandemic, I obviously didn't plan for that at the beginning of last spring. And I think, and I look back and think about, how stupid we were. Closed school the couple days before spring break and said, okay, we'll come back after spring break, right? That was March 15th or something when we did that. And I've been back to school once since then on campus, no, twice on campus since then. So, it's things happen, and so we'll try to keep everything, moving forward. But if we have to change things, we'll have to change things. The other thing is that especially on the Canvas site, if you see errors, right? If you have things that don't work or something, email me. Say, James, I can't find this, or I don't see this, or hey, when I click on this link that says it's a handout for this, I get some other handout, or it says, whoops, nothing here, or whatever it is. Okay, so keep me informed, and don't hesitate to do that for that. You find a question that's weird on an exam or whatever, let me know, and we'll figure it out. I'm not going to read you the course objectives, but there's some course objectives. Here's all the course content, is everything we're going to study, both in lecture and lab. And then here's our schedule. Okay, so I have a lecture schedule that deals with lecture assignments and a lab schedule that deals with lab assignments. So just really quick, I'll explain the lecture stuff. I know it's already been over an hour, so sorry. When you see the letters here for lecture, P1S1. So P stands for part, right? And then S is section, okay? So P1, right, is all the stuff that's for exam 1. And then down here, if you see it actually should be S first. I'll fix that when I post them. Basically, section 1, 2, 3, and then the different parts within the sections as well. The ones that have X, right? So you see the X right here. Those you have to study, but they are things that we're really not going to talk about in class. There's no lecture. Cells you should know from other courses, especially anatomy, which is a prerequisite. Chemistry you should know, obviously, from chemistry. So there's some little review stuff there. We'll have a little bit of chemistry that you may not have learned, or a review that I think is important. But there's some chemistry and cellular stuff that's important for you to know that we're not going to look at in class. And so here's our assignments due, right? We have an orientation checkup the first day of class that will help maintain your spot in class. So you have to take this the first day. Otherwise, you'll be dropped. And then I'll let you take it a second time, anytime you want, before the end of the next week. No, before Sunday of that week. So what is it? Probably the 30th, maybe even the 31st, where you can take it a second time for any checkup, right? Which aren't listed here except for the first one. You can take it twice and your best score counts. Okay. And then you see that you turn in, these are Wednesdays, right? So this isn't a Wednesday because Monday's the first day of class, the orientation one. But here's, the first Wednesday, there's nothing. So the second Wednesday, you turn in JLR 1 and 2 and take home checkup 1. That's a lot of work. Next Wednesday, JLR 3, 4, 5. Then you have a lab quiz on Wednesday and a lecture exam on Wednesday. No Wednesday. No, it's one of the few times in the semester. And you got your lab report and then a lab quiz and the lecture exam and spring break. We're going to have to do anything. And then we come back on a Wednesday, get a physiology paper, a video, a quiz, an exam, a quiz, an exam, and the comprehensive final. So like I said, there's not very many days this semester where you don't have something to do on Wednesday, some major thing within class. So that is what we're doing there. This is the lecture topics which correspond to the reading in the OpenStax book. Okay, so if you look at the section 1.1 to 1.5 for the introduction, things like that. I don't know why I changed these. These should be S1, P1 instead of like this, instead of the other way. I'll fix those. And then here's our lab schedule. So this tells you the different lab names that we do, right? So the lab book number. This explains the due date and penalty date. And again, the due date is the date the assignment should be completed. Okay. It generally mirrors what we do in a face-to-face course during the regular semester. The penalty date is the date after which you start to incur penalties. So you can always turn things up until the penalty date. The problem is you don't want to live by penalty dates because if something weird comes in and all of a sudden you start having deductions. We talked about the deductions, 0.5% per hour, which is 12% per day. The expiration date is the last day you can do things. So what I did here is I took all the checkups, right? So we have, like I said, 13. Here are the different things that we have to do. Okay. So checkup 1 has these sections on it. Okay. It's due on the 4th. You can take it up till the 7th without a penalty, but it expires by the 9th. So anytime you take it after the 7th, so you take it the 8th or 9th, you'll lose points on it because we're in the expiration date. And after the 9th, you can't take it at all. Okay? And so this shows all the different things and all the different dates. For those are the checkups. Checkups include both lecture and laboratory material. Here's where our homework are. Right, so another checkup. So here's our orientation checkup, our take-home checkup, which is due the first day, and then the second week. And then there may be other announcements for other assignments. I don't think so. I don't anticipate that, but I always put it in just in case. Here's when the lecture exams are due. Remember, there's no penalty or expiration date because you have to take them on that day. Okay, so those are the dates you have to take those. Here's the lab exams. Here's the dates for those. Here's when the JLRs are due. All right, so 1 and 2 are due on the 3rd of February, and then 3, 4, 5 are due on the 10th. The lab report is due on March 10th. Here's the Physiology Project, due on the 7th, and then the week after, the 14th of April. Here's important college dates, right? So I remember I said I thought it was the 17th or 23rd. So 4/23 is the last day to take a W, right, in the course. Other important due dates. And then what I did is I took all of the assignments and I sorted them by due date. And so I made this as not part of the syllabus as well. It's the last page of the syllabus. But what I did is I cut and pasted this onto a special sheet. And I think I call it like the most important calendar we have for this course. That's the title of it. And it has all the stuff that's due, the due date, the penalty date, if it exists, or the expiration date if it exists. So you can use this. And if you stay with the due date, just print this out and just have it, then you'll always be up with stuff. Okay. So, all right. So that's a lot longer than I thought it would go. But I think that gives you a pretty good orientation to the course and what we're doing and things like that. So, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we should be good to go.